In an age where the zombie survival video game genre has become overpopulated, there are only a few of these games that actually shine. One of those games is of course Left 4 Dead 2. Releasing only a year after the original Left 4 Dead, the sequel improved on the core gameplay of the first game while adding new mechanics on top of it. It also brought over all the original campaign missions, essentially making it the definitive Left 4 Dead experience. It's still ranked in the top 100 most played games on Steam, and that's a lot to say considering it's nearing its 8th birthday. It's one of the best cooperative shooters available, heavily relying on teamwork as you and your friends navigate through hordes of infected in a 5-act campaign. I've had my fair share of zombie shooting in Left 4 Dead 2, but after a while it does begin to wear on you. There's only so many zombie hordes you can mow down before you start to feel the repetition set in. So let's say you're like me and you want to spice it up a bit. You want to give Left 4 Dead 2 a fresh twist. Well, what better way to do that than applying some mods to it? The Steam Workshop has a very large selection of add-ons you can download for Left 4 Dead 2, and I sifted through quite a few of them myself. I found a couple of them that sounded like they'd be a lot of fun to use. Little did I know that when you use them at the same time, you end up with one of the craziest zombie experiences you'll have in a long time. Without further ado, let's take a look at the mods that I used. There are two specific mods that I tried out. The first mod is titled Super Hordes - No Bonus - No Special - Infinite Ammo - Light. It must be a working title. Anyway, this mod was put together by BlackCat12951, and as the title suggests, this mod has a few functions. First off, Super Hordes. You'll be seeing an increase of 75 to 100 infected per wave, with the final wave having upwards to 200 infected. It also increases the spawn rate between these waves, so you'll be seeing them much more often. Another portion of this mod is adding infinite ammunition. While normally that would be pretty broken, you're absolutely going to need all of that ammo. I'll get more to that when we talk about the second mod, but lastly is the removal of special infected. Trust me though, this isn't any kind of handicap. Dealing with all the infected you'll be going up against is just enough. You don't really need the addition of the special infected, that would be a bit too much to handle in my opinion. The second mod I'm using is titled Old School, made by Elect Exile. This mod also increases the size of hordes, but its main effect is what makes Left 4 Dead 2 so much more difficult. Its secondary effect is that it brings the infected to a crawl. Well, more specifically a walk. They'll shamble around like classic zombies do. Infinite ammo, slower infected, what's so hard? Well, this is. The signature effect of the Old School mod is that you can only kill infected with headshots. And that's where the infinite ammo is going to come into play. You're not going to have the time to individually aim at each infected to deliver a bullet to their head. You're going to be outnumbered, and sometimes even surrounded very quickly. You're going to be spraying and praying a lot. Aim for the head level and let bullets fly. Any shots that don't hit an enemy in their cranium will only stumble or knock them over, so don't be afraid to run up and get a few more bullets in if you aren't sure you hit them. I've played multiplayer with some seasoned veterans using these mods, and they've even had a hard time dealing with the old school style of infected. Rounds that would last me 10 or maybe 15 minutes have turned into hour-long endurance matches against the undead. It can get absolutely insane. But enough talk for now. Let's go ahead and view some gameplay, so that way we can actually see what these mods look like in action. Well, if you didn't notice, I didn't really last long. It's hordes like that one at the end that can really mess you up if you aren't paying attention, or if you purposely shoot the cars and set off the alarms. They'll get you too. But as you saw, these hordes can get really huge. You can get overwhelmed very quickly by the sheer number of them, and sometimes you just have to run. I will say though that there are a couple of strange issues that come with these mods. Well, specifically the mod with a very long name. You can exploit the unlimited ammo feature because it also affects throwable items. You'll have an infinite number of Molotovs, pipe bombs, and boomer bile. Once you find one of these, you can almost breeze through the entire campaign. If you have enough self-control to avoid using them though, it'll make for a fun and challenging experience. I only use the bombs as a last resort for when I get stuck somewhere in the campaign. The second issue is also involving that same mod, and unfortunately, it's a little more game-breaking. I've only beat the game a couple of times with these mods, and in at least one instance a glitch will occur where the escape vehicle just won't show up. No Mercy and Dead Air worked as normal, however the boat at the end of Death Toll never came to pick me up. I haven't seen it happen again in the other campaign missions. The Parish and Dead Center also work just as they should, but I've never actually beat any of the other campaign missions with these mods. Oh, and also, there was one last issue I wanted to make note of that I only had in Death Toll. The finale was not much of a finale at all. I think for some reason the mod reverted back to original infected spawn rates. Couple that with the old school slowness and you have a really long and drawn out sequence. I honestly think this only has to do with Black Cat 1295-1's mod. Oh, and not to forget, this happened at the very last second.
Get up now, come on! Thanks.
Another thing to note is that both of these mods actually increase the horde size. However, as far as I know, the effect doesn't stack on one another. That being said, it's not clear if we're seeing the horde sizes from Black Cat 1295-1's mod, or if we're fighting the horde sizes from the old school mod. Regardless, there are still tons of infected to deal with. The old school mod itself is actually not its own modification to the core gameplay. It's actually a game mode type you would play under the mutation menu, so you would have to launch it in that way. Also, if unlimited ammo isn't your thing, or if you would rather have special infected in the game, Black Cat 1295-1 has multiple variations of the same mod. There are even versions of the mod that increase the horde count by up to 400 infected. Though you're probably going to need an i5 or an i7 processor if you want to be able to actually run it properly. At any rate, go check their profile out in the Steam Workshop. You'll get to see all of the different versions. That's all the time that I have left for today, but what do you think? Are you still playing vanilla Left 4 Dead 2 and haven't grown tired of it? Or maybe you know of some better mods to further expand the gameplay? Tell me your thoughts and opinions down below. Now to go shoot some more infected. This is Dr. Modelot fighting the Undead Menace.